Hello, and welcome back to Better English Step by Step. I am Sarah, and I am so happy you are here with us today.
And I am Mark. Hello, everyone. We are here to help you build your English confidence, one calm lesson at a time.
Today, we have a very special episode for you. We are going to tackle a problem that almost every English learner faces. It is the problem of getting stuck. You know how to say hello, you know how to talk about the weather, you know how to ask what someone did for the weekend, but then the conversation stops.
Exactly. It is like hitting a wall. You want to have a deeper conversation. You want to really connect with the person you are talking to. You want to talk about ideas or feelings or dreams, but you do not know how to get there from the small talk.
It feels awkward, doesn't it? You are talking about the rain, and you cannot just suddenly say, "Tell me about your biggest fear." That would be strange.
Very strange. You need a way to travel from the small talk to the deep talk. You need a connection. In this lesson, we are calling these connections bridge phrases.
A bridge connects two pieces of land. These phrases connect two topics. They connect the surface-level conversation to the deeper-level conversation. They are safe, they are polite, and they are very effective.
We are going to walk you through these bridge phrases slowly. We will explain them. We will give you examples. And most importantly, we will practice them together. You will listen to us, and then you will repeat after us.
By the end of this hour, you will have a set of tools in your pocket. You will be able to turn a boring chat into a meaningful connection.
So, take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. Let's begin.
Our first category of bridge phrases is what we call the observation bridge. This is when you use something you see or hear to ask a deeper question.
Often, when we meet someone, we ask standard questions. How are you? Where are you from? What do you do? These are fine, but they are like reading a script. To go deeper, you need to observe the person in front of you.
Imagine you are talking to someone and you notice they have a very nice, calm energy. Or maybe you notice they are reading a specific book. Or maybe you notice they seem excited when they talk about their dog. You can use that observation to build a bridge.
The structure is simple. First, you state what you see. Then, you ask a question about the value or the feeling behind it.
Let's try a simple one. Imagine you are speaking to someone who mentions they go hiking every weekend. A normal response would be, "That is nice," and the conversation dies.
But here is the bridge phrase. You say, "I noticed you go hiking a lot. Is nature a big part of your life?"
Do you hear the difference? The first part is the observation. I noticed you go hiking a lot. The second part is the bridge to the deep topic. Is nature a big part of your life? Now you are talking about values. You are talking about what is important to them.
Let's practice this structure. I will say the phrase, and I want you to repeat it. We will go slowly.
I noticed you go hiking a lot.
I noticed you go hiking a lot.
Good. Now the question.
Is nature a big part of your life? Is nature a big part of your life?
Now let's put it together. Listen to the rhythm. It should sound curious, not aggressive. I noticed you go hiking a lot. Is nature a big part of your life?
Excellent. Let's try another variation of this observation bridge. Imagine you are talking to a colleague. They are always working very hard. They are always busy. You could just say, "You look busy," but that is small talk.
Let's make it deep talk. The bridge phrase is, "I noticed you are always so dedicated. What drives you to work this hard?"
This is a beautiful question. It asks about their motivation. It asks about their internal drive. Let's break it down. First, the observation. Repeat after me. I noticed you are always so dedicated. I noticed you are always so dedicated.
Now the deep question.
What drives you to work this hard? What drives you to work this hard?
Let's put it together. Remember to keep your voice soft and interested. I noticed you are always so dedicated. What drives you to work this hard? How does that feel? It feels like you actually care about them, right? It really does. It opens the door for them to tell a story. They might say, "Well, my father worked hard and I want to be like him." Or they might say, "I am trying to save money for a house." Suddenly, you are in a real conversation.
Let's do one more observation bridge. This one is very useful for social situations, like a party or a dinner. You are talking to someone who seems to know a lot about a specific topic, maybe cooking or movies or history. You can say, I noticed you light up when you talk about this. Is this your passion?
I love that phrase. You light up. It means your face becomes happy and bright. It is a lovely compliment. Let's practice that specific phrase first. You light up when you talk about this.
You light up when you talk about this.
And the question, is this your passion? Is this your passion? Now the whole bridge. I noticed you light up when you talk about this. Is this your passion? Wonderful. You are doing a great job. Just listening to these patterns helps your brain get used to them. You do not have to memorize them perfectly right now. Just let the English flow into your ears. If you are enjoying this calm way of learning, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps us create more of these long lessons for you. When you subscribe, you are building a habit of stepping into this English environment with us. Now, let's move to our second category. This is the vulnerability bridge. Vulnerability means showing a little bit of your true self. It means being honest. Sometimes the best way to get deep talk is to give deep talk first. If you share something real, the other person feels safe to share something real too. The phrase we are going to learn here is to be honest. This is a very common phrase, but learners often use it for simple things, like, to be honest, I am hungry. That is okay, but we want to use it to bridge to a deeper feeling. Imagine you are talking about your job. Someone asks, how is work? You could say, it is fine. That is small talk. Here is the bridge phrase. To be honest, I have been thinking a lot about my career path lately. This invites the other person to ask, why? What are you thinking? It changes the level of the conversation instantly. Let's practice this. Start with the opener, to be honest. To be honest. Now the content. I have been thinking a lot about my career path lately. I have been thinking a lot about my career path lately. Let's combine them. Use a thoughtful tone. You are sharing a secret thought. To be honest, I have been thinking a lot about my career path lately. Good. Let's try another one. This one is for when you are discussing a general topic, like moving to a new city or learning a new skill. You want to admit that it is difficult. The phrase is, to be honest, I find it a bit overwhelming sometimes. Overwhelming means it is too much. It is a strong feeling. Sharing this makes you human. Let's practice. To be honest. To be honest. I find it a bit overwhelming sometimes. I find it a bit overwhelming sometimes. Now the full sentence. To be honest, I find it a bit overwhelming sometimes. And here is a variation of the vulnerability bridge using the word actually. Sometimes you are talking about something happy, but you want to share a deeper, perhaps more complex feeling. You can say, actually, it has been a big change for me. This is very simple, but very powerful. Imagine someone asks, how is the new apartment? You say, it is great. Actually, it has been a big change for me. This signals that there is more to the story. Let's drill this simple bridge. Actually. Actually. It has been a big change for me. It has been a big change for me. Together now. Actually, it has been a big change for me. When you say this, pause a little bit after actually. It grabs the listener's attention. Actually, it has been a big change for me. Perfect. The key with the vulnerability bridge is that you do not have to share your deepest, darkest secret. You just share one layer deeper than the weather. You share a thought, a worry, or a realization. Let's try one more in this category. This is for when you are listening to someone else talk about a struggle. You can relate to them by sharing your own small struggle. The phrase is, I can relate to that. I have struggled with that too. This connects you immediately. You are not just a listener, you are a partner in the experience. Repeat after me. I can relate to that. I can relate to that. I have struggled with that too. I have struggled with that too. Now the whole bridge. I can relate to that. I have struggled with that too. Notice the pronunciation of struggled. It is a soft duh sound in the middle. struggled. I have struggled with that too. Very good. Now we are going to move to our third category. This is the pivot bridge. A pivot is when you turn. In basketball, you keep one foot on the ground and turn your body. In conversation, you keep the connection but turn the topic. This is very useful when the current topic is boring or when the current topic reminds you of something more interesting. You do not want to just change the subject rudely. You want to pivot. The magic phrase here is speaking of. We use speaking of to connect the current word to a new topic. For example, imagine you are talking about the hot weather. It is boring, but the hot weather reminds you of your trip to Spain last year. You want to talk about travel. You say, speaking of the heat, it actually reminds me of my trip to Spain. Now you have moved from the weather to travel, and travel is a much better topic for deep talk. Let's practice the structure. Speaking of the heat. Speaking of the heat. It actually reminds me of my trip to Spain. It actually reminds me of my trip to Spain. Let's put it together. Listen to the flow. Speaking of the heat, it actually reminds me of my trip to Spain. Let's try another pivot bridge. Maybe you are talking about food. You are eating a sandwich. It is not very interesting, but you want to talk about culture or family traditions. You can say, speaking of food, does your family have any special traditions? This is a fantastic bridge. You take the simple object, food, and you bridge to the deep topic, family traditions. Let's drill it. Speaking of food, does your family have any special traditions? Does your family have any special traditions? Speaking of food, does your family have any special traditions? This one uses the phrase, that brings to mind. This is slightly more formal, slightly more elegant. You can use it when you want to share a story. Imagine someone mentions they are reading a book about history. You want to talk about a documentary you saw. You say, that brings to mind a documentary I watched recently. Let's practice. That brings to mind. That brings to mind. A documentary I watched recently. A documentary I watched recently. Together. That brings to mind a documentary I watched recently. And if you want to make it even smoother, you can add, funny you should mention that. This is a great phrase. It means, what a coincidence. Funny you should mention that. Funny you should mention that. That brings to mind a story from my childhood. That brings to mind a story from my childhood. Let's combine them into a long, fluid bridge. Funny you should mention that. That brings to mind a story from my childhood. Excellent. You are doing very well. We are building these bridges one plank at a time. Now let's look at our fourth category. This is the curiosity bridge. This is perhaps the most important one for making friends. Curiosity means wanting to know, but sometimes direct questions feel like an interview. Where do you live? How many sisters do you have? What is your job? This is an interview, not a conversation. To make it deep, we use softer phrases. We use bridges that show we are wondering about things. The key phrase is, I have always wondered. This phrase is magical. It takes the pressure off the other person. It shows that you are a thinker. For example, instead of asking, do you like your job, which is a yes or no question, you can use a bridge. You can say, I have always wondered, what is the best part of your profession? This invites a long, positive answer. Let's practice. I have always wondered. I have always wondered. What is the best part of your profession? What is the best part of your profession? Together. I have always wondered, what is the best part of your profession? Let's try another one. Maybe you are talking about travel. Instead of, where have you been? Try this. I have always wondered, is there a place that changed your perspective? This is a very deep question. It asks about perspective, about how they see the world. Let's drill the end of that sentence first. Is there a place that changed your perspective? Is there a place that changed your perspective? Now add the bridge. I have always wondered, Is there a place that changed your perspective? Another great curiosity bridge is, what is your take on? Your take means your opinion, your perspective. It is a casual but smart way to ask what someone thinks. You can use this for news, for books, for ideas. For example, what is your take on the idea of remote work? Let's practice. What is your take on? What is your take on? The idea of remote work. The idea of remote work. Together. What is your take on the idea of remote work? You can use this for anything. What is your take on modern art? What is your take on this new movie? It is much better than asking, do you like it? Because it asks for a complex opinion. Let's do one more curiosity bridge. This one is, I am curious to know. It is simple, clear, and polite. I am curious to know, how did you get started in this field? This is great for professional networking or meeting new people. Repeat after me. I am curious to know. I am curious to know. How did you get started in this field? How did you get started in this field? Full sentence. I am curious to know, how did you get started in this field? Wonderful. We have covered 4 categories now: the observation bridge, the vulnerability bridge, the pivot bridge, and the curiosity bridge. Now we are going to do something a little different. We are going to put these bridges into action. We are going to do an extended shadowing practice. We are going to have a conversation. Mark and I will role-play a scene. We will start with very boring small talk. Then we will use the bridge phrases to go deeper. We will say the dialogue slowly. We want you to shadow us. That means you repeat what we say just a second or two after we say it, or simply listen carefully to how the conversation shifts. Imagine we are at a coffee shop. We are acquaintances, meaning we know each other a little, but not well. Here we go. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you. Hi, Mark. Good to see you too. How is your coffee? It is good. It is nice and hot. That is good. The weather is a bit cold today. Yes, it is quite chilly. I noticed you are reading a book about psychology. Yes, I just started it. I noticed you often read books like that. Are you interested in how the mind works? Yes, actually. To be honest, I have been thinking a lot about how we form habits lately. That is fascinating. Speaking of habits, I have always wondered, do you think it is harder to break a bad habit or start a good one? Wow, that is a great question. In my experience, starting a good one is harder. I can relate to that. I have struggled with starting a morning run for years. Really? What is your take on why it is so difficult?
I think it is about comfort. Actually, it reminds me of a quote I heard once. Let's pause there. Did you hear how many bridges we used? We started with coffee and weather. Very boring. Then Mark used an observation bridge. I noticed you often read books like that. Are you interested in how the mind works? Then I used a vulnerability bridge. To be honest, I have been thinking a lot about habits. Then Mark used a curiosity bridge. I have always wondered. Then I used an experience phrase. In my experience. Then Mark used a relatability bridge. I can relate to that. I have struggled with that too. And finally, a pivot. It reminds me of a quote. In just 1 minute, we went from the coffee is hot to why is it hard to change our lives? That is the power of these phrases. They are like keys that unlock the next level of the game. Now, I want to drill some of the longer combined phrases we just used in that dialogue. These are complex, so we will break them down. The first one was, I noticed you often read books like that. Are you interested in how the mind works? Let's break it into 2 parts. I noticed you often read books like that. I noticed you often read books like that. Are you interested in how the mind works? Are you interested in how the mind works? Now, try to say the whole thing smoothly. I noticed you often read books like that. Are you interested in how the mind works? The next complex phrase was, to be honest, I have been thinking a lot about how we form habits lately. Let's drill the middle part. About how we form habits. About how we form habits. Now, the beginning and middle. I have been thinking a lot about how we form habits. I have been thinking a lot about how we form habits. Now, at the opener and the closer. To be honest, I have been thinking a lot about how we form habits lately. Great, and one more from the dialogue. I have always wondered, do you think it is harder to break a bad habit or start a good one? This is a long sentence. Let's look at the choice at the end. To break a bad habit or start a good one. To break a bad habit or start a good one. Now the beginning. Do you think it is harder? Do you think it is harder? Combine them. Do you think it is harder to break a bad habit or start a good one? And add the bridge. I have always wondered, do you think it is harder to break a bad habit or start a good one? Excellent work. Now, I want to talk about fear. Often, we know these phrases, but we are afraid to use them. We are afraid the other person will think we are weird. But think about your own life. When someone asks you a good question, do you think they are weird? Or do you feel happy that they are interested? Usually we feel happy. We like talking about ourselves. We like it when people care. So do not be afraid to use an observation bridge. Do not be afraid to say, I noticed you seem happy today. It is a gift you give to the other person. Exactly. The worst that can happen is they say, oh, not really. And then you just go back to talking about the weather. It is very low risk. Let's learn a few safety net phrases. These are phrases you can use if the bridge fails. If you ask a deep question and the person gives a short answer, you can use a safety net to make it comfortable again. One safety net is, just a thought. For example, you ask, what drives you to work this hard? And they say, I don't know, just money. You can say, fair enough, just a thought. It signals that you are easygoing. You are not demanding a deep answer. Let's practice that. Fair enough, just a thought. Fair enough, just a thought. Another safety net is, I was just curious. You ask, is nature a big part of your life? They say, no, not really. You say, that makes sense. I was just curious. It creates a soft landing. Let's practice. That makes sense. I was just curious. That makes sense. I was just curious. Having these safety nets helps you feel brave. You know that if the bridge doesn't work, you can still land safely. We have time for one more major category of bridges. We call this the interpretation bridge. This is for advanced listening. When someone tells you a story, you can build a bridge to the next part of the conversation by interpreting what they said. You summarize their feeling. The phrase is, it sounds like. For example, someone tells you about their difficult week. My boss was angry, my car broke down, and I lost my wallet. You can say, it sounds like you have had an incredibly stressful week. This validates them. It shows you understand. Let's practice the structure. It sounds like. It sounds like. You have had an incredibly stressful week. You have had an incredibly stressful week. Together. It sounds like you have had an incredibly stressful week. And another version is, it seems like that was a really important moment for you. Use this when someone tells you about a success or a memory. It seems like. It seems like. That was a really important moment for you. That was a really important moment for you. Together. It seems like that was a really important moment for you. And a question you can add to the end of an interpretation bridge is that right? This gives them a chance to correct you or agree with you.
It sounds like you are looking for a change. Is that right? Let's drill this. It sounds like you are looking for a change. Is that right? Is that right? Full bridge. It sounds like you are looking for a change. Is that right? This is the ultimate empathy tool. If you use this, people will think you are a wonderful conversationalist, and you didn't even talk about yourself. You just built a bridge to their feelings. We have covered so much ground today. Let's do a quick review of the top bridges we learned. I will say the name of the bridge, and Mark will remind us of the key phrase. The observation bridge. I noticed you